And yeah, so this is the newest pizza that they've introduced. With the new Corner Grille, it's not really the new Corner Grille, but the new strategy with the Corner Grille is they're going to be introducing a new pizza every week. And from there, they're going to have the customers vote on social media, on Facebook, to decide which flavors get to stay. We're going to see if this one is worth keeping.
All right, so this one has kidney beans. It also has, and I have to admit, I'm highly skeptical of kale.
Yeah.
I think I've had kale twice, and both times they were not great experiences.
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
I have to admit I'm okay with kale.
Yeah,
it's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
So, what did she say this had in it? It's got red onions, black beans, kale.
There's got to be bacon. There's absolutely. It tastes like there's bacon in this, but I'm not sure. It's like salty like bacon.
Well, if there isn't, they should add bacon.
Yeah. And this is like the thinnest crust. If you got rid of all these toppings, this is basically like paper thin crust. Like you could swipe this through a credit card machine.
So we were talking earlier about thin crust versus thick crust.
Mm-hmm.
In your opinion on that, which I'm sure to disagree with.
Well, I have family in Chicago, and I've had both thin crust pizza.
That sounds apologetic before you even get into it. So.
I've had thin crust pizza. This is probably the thinnest crust pizza I've ever had in my life. I've had pizza from very famous Pepe's in New Haven, which is like some people consider the best pizza in the world or whatever. And I've had Chicago style pizza, which is basically like pizza cake. I like both very, very much. And my opinion is that people are especially cruel towards Chicago style pizza, which I just don't think is fair and necessary. And you have issues.
See, yeah, I don't think they're cool enough for Chicago style pizza. I've been to Chicago. I wasn't impressed. The thing I'll say about this crust, about the cracker, and this is, I think you had said, it's almost like beyond a thin crust.
Yeah.
It's not just a thin crust. It's actually like pizza on a cracker.
Yeah, yeah.
But I know when I used to come here, we'd get the vegaholic pizza, which has all the veggies on it. And you'd eat this entire pizza, and you wouldn't feel sick afterwards. You'd feel like you actually may have tricked yourself into eating something healthy. She was saying, the manager was saying something about the amount of bread in a large pizza.
It's equal to like a sandwich. Like if you were just ordering like 2 slices of bread for a sandwich, this is the same amount of like carbohydrates, and like that's why it feels like you're really eating nothing.
This is really salty though.
This is very salty, yeah.
I like salty pizza. It's actually growing. I thought it was too salty when I first bit into it, which maybe was just like a weird corner of it. But
the kidney beans really cancel that out, and they absorb a lot of that. And to your point, the thing with Chicago style pizza is it's not fun to eat an entire one on your own, and that's because it's got the thickness of cake, so you're essentially eating cake and pizza in one sitting.
So you got the iced tea, which comes. That's like one of the things that I used to love about coming here is it comes in the ball mason jar,
yes,
which you get to keep.
Which I am taking home. Yeah, and this is they're just trying this one out too. This is the green apple iced tea. It's it doesn't taste like very sour like green apple. I gave it a good shake. It's like very, very smooth, and it goes extremely well with this pizza, which is, you're right, very salty, but that's why I think there's bacon in it. I'm not seeing bacon. Oh, I'm sorry. This is actually, no, this is chorizo. So this is like a mixture of like chicken and pork. That's
so it's like bacon's, bacon and
chicken data. Yeah. That's exactly, that's what came to mind for me.
I just lost my appetite. The interesting thing, they had been closed for 6 months. It looks very much the same. I can tell that something's different in here. Like, the signs are still the same, but it does look a little different. Talking to them, it was interesting to get their perception on Worcester's Renaissance. And at MassLive, we have been reporting pretty actively, I would say, on the Renaissance the last 2 or 3 years, particularly in the last year when we hired you, Alban, specifically to be our kind of our Worcester Renaissance reporter. And just to back up a little bit, I mean, this started with, us sort of noticing at some point that a lot of the developments that were happening in the city, both on the restaurant scene, the food and dining, but also physical developments, infrastructure improvements, cultural, there was a lot happening at once, to the point where it was not so much just a coincidence, but like a light bulb of like, hey, are we in one of those moments in Worcester's history that, 20, 30 years from now, people looking back at like, hey, the Worcester Renaissance was a thing.
Yeah.
When the city was exploding with all these restaurants and food and dining. Getting their perception of it, and this is a business that's been here for, 18 years. It's a little bit different than when we talk to the restaurant owners who have just opened a place here or have come out from Boston, who think that this is just like a potential gold mine out here for the dining scene. Her concern was that we get too many restaurants. And
for someone who's been here for 2 decades, she had like this kind of very, very careful and realistic optimism. Like she was happy to see that things are moving forward, but it was interesting. Joffrey Zakarian from Food Network came to speak at the Hanover just last week, and he's an experienced restaurateur, and he said the same exact thing. If there needs to be more of there needs to be that density, there needs to be that culture of people eating out in Worcester all of the time. And so for someone who's been here for close to 2 decades, I'm sure they see that sort of density. They have a loyal fan base. I think the social media post got like 25,000 hits on it. I mean, people wanted Corner Grille to come back. So it's interesting to see that skepticism, because you don't get that when you speak to a lot of the restaurant owners who are just moving into Worcester. And like you said, they see gold.
Well, I think the thing that some people forget, and we see this on the comments on the stories of social media posts, because a lot of people are thinking in terms of the number of restaurants versus people within the city who are going to those restaurants. And what we've learned in talking to restaurateurs and owners is that they're increasingly seeing people from outside the city, and not just the immediate suburbs, which has historically been the case, but people from Framingham, from Natick, occasionally from Boston, from Western Mass, who are now coming to Worcester either specifically for the dining or just to make a night of it, make a day of it. See a show at the Hanover, get dinner while they're out, that sort of thing.
So this is really interesting, because I actually spoke to someone from the chamber last week. The chamber actually tracks, where they do studies on receipts that come from outside of Worcester, because obviously that's something they want to track. They want to be able to know how many people are coming from out of town, maybe even possibly where they're coming from. And they found, sort of like what you said, that Worcester is starting to see this increase in people coming out of town, which is great for the restaurant scene. At the same time, what's going to be really important, what's really going to make it, in my opinion, is people in Worcester eating out 2 to 3 times a day. And that's not me making that up, that's from Jeffrey Zakarian. Are there people out 2 to 3 times a day? Not 2 to 3 times a day, 2 to 3 times a week. Which is, that's sort of the culture of dining out that you're going to find in cities that have kind of already made it.
But the other issue, though, that I think is dealing with that transition from Worcester, from a place where it was known for the diners. I worked at Worcester Magazine. I used to hop on over to Mac's Diner. I could get lunch for $5. It was $3 for a sandwich, $1 for a drink, and a $1 tip. You'd be hard pressed to find lunch for $5 in the city. So what we're dealing with is like really high-end dining. And we still have the diners, but the prices have gone up. You're dealing with a much more high-end food environment than the city, I think, has known in a long time, or perhaps ever known.
Yeah, with the restaurants we have coming in, the dining scene is ripe for a foodie culture. So the foodies are going to be the kind of people that actually want to eat out as often as they can, or as they can afford. they want high-end dining. They also want interesting dining. They want unique dining. They want something something like, if they want pizza, they probably order something like the new Beddy. They want something that's different and interesting that they haven't had before. And are there enough foodies in Worcester to sustain that growth? That remains to be seen. And that's
in Worcester or outside of Worcester. I mean, because you got a lot of them coming from outside the city.
That's also true. And, then the other question is going to be, are there other options? Or is Worcester, in terms of Central Mass, going to be the only place where you can have that high-end dining experience?
So, as I'm often apt to point out, you're a millennial.
Thank you. The secret is out.
My condolences. I'm a Gen Xer. How often do you eat out? You live in the city. How often do you eat out, and what types of places are you hitting?
All right, so I think what matters more for me as a millennial is not just a good place to grab lunch, but it's also going to be, where can I go out to get a good drink? Not a Miller Lite. Where can I get a good drink after hours? And in the Canal District, for example, there's Whiskey on the Water, which is a great one to go to. There's the Hotel Vernon, which is a little bit on the lower end, but when I go there, I see young people there all the time. Whiskey on the Water is really like the hot spot if you're young, college, you want to get a drink. Now, it's interesting because you have Guy Glodis, who just moved in, who kind of opened up this political bar, which is really oriented towards adults. It's kind of like a step in the other direction, where it's high-end, but not for millennials. And that's going to be a really interesting question, too. That's going to be a really interesting development, too, is right now the high end works for people who are adult and already have money. Is there going to be high end for the new population that Worcester wants to attract, which is the millennials? And I gotta say, right now, as a younger person, and Worcester's got a bunch of young people already in the colleges, your options are kind of limited.
Yeah. Well, I think, and we go back a couple of years, we interviewed students who had just moved in that Becker College dorm in downtown across from the City Common. And their comments about living downtown was essentially they had nowhere to go. There was 7-Eleven and there was Dunkin' Donuts, Honeydew. You go down there now and there's the Brew, which is a higher end coffee shop. You've got Techni, which is the Mediterranean place. We've got 4 other restaurants opening on that block.
Yep.
Mercantile Center across the street where there's retail and stuff going.
Yep.
We had a question about what was on the menu, so I don't want to drone too long on Renaissance stuff because that's a good point. So the menu is very similar to the way it used to be. There are a couple of items that they have, quote, retired. And we know that they're retired because it says right there, retired. So what did they retire? They retired the apple cranberry salad. And she said these were based on, nobody was eating this stuff. So they killed it. Or a few people. The steak and cheese, was that a pie? Or was that it's between the bread?
Steak and cheese was retired. And I think
was that a pizza or was that a...
No, that was a wrap.
That was a wrap.
Steak and cheese wrap, yeah.
So the steak and cheese wrap was retired. The tabbouleh and hummus was retired. The wrap.
Yeah.
For pies, the roasted red, the Tatnut Engine number 9, and we should mention we are in Tatnut here.
Yeah.
And the Aloha was retired.
The Tatnut Engine number 9 looked really, really good.
It did.
The retired items, by the way, are not coming back. Ever. I don't know.
Do we know that for sure?
No, well, the owners told me they're not coming back. I mean, I'm sure if the customer. That's true. I wasn't born for old folk. So the new push, of course. Excellent. By the way, we have Stephanie. If you want to come over,
we're live on the web.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. If you want to come say hi.
Hi.
Stephanie, you're the manager.
I am the manager of
Corner Grille. Actually, now that you're here, can we put you on the spot and ask you a question?
Sure.
No, it's simple. We talked about this. Can you tell us a little bit about how you're going to start introducing new menu items and new pizza?
Sure. We'll introduce 1 or 2 every week.
We'll get the feedback once we introduce all the new pizzas. We like the new wraps and sandwiches, as well as our salads. We'll put a Facebook post out, and we'll have everyone vote, and whichever ones get the highest votes will stay, and the other ones will take off.
Awesome. Yeah, we like this new flavor.
Isn't it good?
I actually don't like kale.
And you love that.
Well, it's like everything else that's in there. It's like the kale that kind of changes the kale. It's not kale.
Yeah.
It's like kale with other stuff. So
Yeah, it's really good because you just melts in your mouth a little bit.
Yeah.
See, please.
Oh, I thought we were supposed to eat on it.
We're all in this. But yeah, I mean, I think if we're talking about, thank you so much.
So sorry about that, guys.
Kind of like fixing the barn door.
Yeah,
Made a real
we'll make sure we'll spray down the table.
Yeah, oh no, it's
We brought No, yeah, but thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely, this is great. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So we're glad to be back and we're up and running, and just everyone come down and see us.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
We're here till 9. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Do we have any more questions from our readers? I'm not sure if I got to them all. If somebody want to know about the menu, I don't know if we mentioned. Did we mention the name of this? This is the new pizza. One of the new pizzas.
The new Beddy.
Bouncing Beddy, the new Beddy,
The new Beddy.
brown Beddy. Beddy. We'll just call her Beddy.
Yeah.
So very good. What's our takeaway on this? Salty but delicious.
It's salty. It made kale good.
Yeah.
Kale good.
It made kale good.
The
somehow.
Beddy made kale good somehow.
Yes.
That should wind up in your story.
Yeah.
So. Okay. I think we're gonna probably
Good.
sign off. And
Yeah.
thank you for joining
Thank you,
us.
everybody.
Corner Grille is now opened up at 11 a.m. This morning, and open for business after being closed for 6 months due to flooding. So. I think in the past, like I've said, like part of the problem of coming here is always packed and crowded. It actually isn't right now.
This is
So
gonna be
this
your
is
one
this is your one chance to get in when it's not crowded. But I want to thank you all for joining
Thank
us,
you,
and
everybody.
we're gonna finish our pizza here. So.